In this video, we see how appeal inspectors identify the principal elevation when they look at houses on corner locations. I'll examine 4 houses that have a front elevation featuring the main windows and a side elevation featuring the entrance door and minor windows. Which elevation do you think is the principal elevation? What's your instant preference? Front or side? Front or side? Front or side? Front or side? The inspectors decided that the principal elevation was at the side elevation for the first 2 cases and at the front elevation for the last 2 cases. Did you get the same results? I'd be amazed if you did, because for me, some of the decisions appeared to reflect a personal opinion, not an objective one. Let's see how the inspectors argued their case. This corner house has a south-facing elevation, fronting a highway, and an east-facing elevation, fronting another highway. In this case, the appellant applied for a lawful development certificate, an LDC, to add a dormer to the roof slope on the east elevation. This photo shows what was required. The council considered the east elevation to be the principal elevation, and they refused the LDC, as the proposed dormer would be in front of the roof plane forming the principal elevation. Upon appeal, the inspector's first task was to decide which elevation was the principal elevation. The technical guidance offers some help in deciding the principal elevation. In most cases, the principal elevation will be that part of the house which fronts the main highway serving the house, so the main highway will usually provide the postcode. It contains the main architectural features, such as main bay windows, porch to main entrance, and it will also be understood to be the front of the house. The actual wording emphasises that there will be exceptions to this criteria. The inspector noted that the postcode was set by the east elevation. However, pedestrian and vehicle access was at the south elevation, which also featured the main entrance. Architecturally, the inspector noted the east elevation featured a first floor bay window under a hipped roof and stated it was the main architectural feature on the building. No comment was made of the architectural merit of the south elevation. It was the inspector's impression that the east elevation was secondary to the south elevation, and it was therefore concluded that the south elevation was the principal elevation. As the dormer window would not be in front of the roof plane forming the principal elevation, the appeal was allowed. Moving to the second appeal decision. Here's the south elevation. Here's the east elevation. The appellant claimed the eastern elevation to be the principal elevation. The LDC application was for a hip to gable conversion plus a rear dormer. Council declared the south elevation as the principal elevation and refused the LDC application. Upon appeal, the inspector observed that the south elevation had an entrance gate, path and front door. Architecturally, it had a projecting porch roof and an array of first floor windows, all with contrasting coloured tiles. No comment was made at all about the east elevation. The inspector said that the architectural intention was for the end house of the terrace to turn the corner, and that this had been achieved by means of organising the main architectural features on the south elevation. The inspector concluded that the south elevation was the principal elevation and dismissed the appeal. This is a very similar property. The appellant claimed the east elevation was the principal elevation and wanted to erect a dormer on the roof of the south elevation. The council considered the south elevation to be the principal elevation as it contained the main entrance, porch with a canopy, pathway leading up to the dwelling, driveway and vehicle crossover. The council refused the LDC application. Upon appeal, the inspector noted the south elevation had features which were not associated with the principal elevation of a residential property, such as fewer openings and no windows to the upper floor, a window at mid-level which lit the internal stairway, and external drainage pipes across the facade. The inspector made no comment at all about the architectural merit of the east elevation. Apparently the logic was that the east elevation must be the principal elevation as the south elevation looked like a side elevation. In my opinion, it's a peculiar judgment in that one elevation is judged from a negative viewpoint and the other is not judged at all. And the decision is the opposite of the previous very similar property. Moving on to the fourth property. It's a corner building with a northwest facing, i.e. narrow elevation, and a northeast facing entrance door elevation. The appellant wanted a hip to gable conversion and to add a dormer window on the southwest slope, claiming the northwest elevation was the principal elevation. Council rejected the LDC application, stating the northeast elevation was the principal elevation. Upon appeal, the inspector observed that the northwest elevation fronted the highway that assigned the postcode for the property, while the northeast elevation held the main entrance door. From an architectural viewpoint, the northwest elevation included more decorative architectural features, including double-width windows plus a bay window at ground floor level. The northeast elevation had a flatter, less decorative and more utilitarian elevation. From this, the inspector concluded the northwest elevation was the principal elevation and allowed the appeal. Let's review these four appeal decisions. In the fourth case, the relative merits of the two elevations were fairly and properly considered. This contrasts with the first three cases, where there was no assessment of the attributes of one of the elevations. Cases 2 and 3 produced the opposite results for very similar properties. It's undeniable that there is some lack of consistency in both the process and the benchmarks. I'm wondering what quality control systems are run by the Factory Inspectorate, and if you know, please share the details with us below in the comments. If you're thinking of pressing the like or subscribe buttons, thank you. Next week, a few more inspectors will be deciding a few more principal elevations on corner properties. How will they do? Join me next week to find out. Thanks for watching.